Your marketing isn't getting attention because you're scared of being powerful. Let me explain why. My name is Anna Bellissima. I am an extremely powerful magician, as of course are you. I am a chaos witch and an expert copywriter and marketer, and today I'm sharing what I know about the single most important skill in marketing that is not being properly taught, which is how to capture attention and stop thumbs mid-scroll. If you have a tiny attention span like me, pause now and put the playback speed to 1.25 or even 1.5 and hold on tight, because you have about 1.5 seconds, maybe 2.5 at most, to grab people's attention before they scroll past your carefully crafted content. Your very warmest leads, your best friends, your Auntie Sue might stop just based on seeing your name and picture in their feed, but those people will be a diminishing minority. So your hook, what gets their attention, is everything. And yet I still see most business owners starting their social media posts, something I've been thinking about, or I hope you enjoyed the long weekend as much as I did. So familiar, so comfortable, so very uninviting. 99% of your audience won't even register passing it before their eyeballs. I'm going to break down the elements of a successful hook, but first, a little context. Let's take a clear-eyed look at the marketplace in which we find ourselves. Now, the digital economy is built on the currency of attention, and if you're making money online, you are in direct competition with million-dollar ad budgets and millions of people who are making it their job to get exceptionally good at grabbing attention and then hearts and minds and wallets. And most of us were never taught how to do this. In school, if we were lucky, we were taught how to write a letter, an essay, some analysis, maybe to compose a short story. But all of that conditioning absolutely sabotages your marketing. It's imperative that you unlearn everything you thought you knew about writing, because what we were taught was polite and gentle. It was structured and explanatory, designed for captive audiences like our teachers who had a duty to read what we wrote. But in marketing, we are always selling. And in this case, the hook is what sells the rest of the story to the reader. The hook is what says, you need to see this. Again, it is not your introduction. It is an interruption that comes before your introduction. And here's what most people get wrong. They try to be polite because we were taught that it's not polite to grab attention, that it's not polite to interrupt people. So there's a lot to untangle here if you are coming to this as a beginner marketer. But it's important that we do, because if we don't capture attention in the first place, everything else is wasted. Those people never read your brilliant insights. They never learn about how you can help them or what you can sell them. They never get to the call to action, so they never book the call or make the sale. So today I'm going to teach you how to write hooks that work, including some Mercury magic that will change how you approach this. First, we must understand what we mean by a good hook. A good hook are easy to understand words that your reader can read, process, understand, and respond to, experience a reaction to in under 2 seconds. This is what news editors spend a great deal of time on, as well as marketers. Their problem is, how can we get people to read this story? And you have the same problem, so we can learn a lot from their solution. And their solution is the headline, the few powerful words that do all of the heavy lifting in getting people to read what is on the page. So choose them wisely. What would you say to get people's attention in 3 to 5, 5 to 7 words? Your answer must hit so that it can't be ignored. Now, I know this sounds complicated and it sounds like hidden secret knowledge held by the Guild of Copywriters, but we can just think critically to an answer about this problem and come up with some ideas. So let's brainstorm what news headlines and also billboard advertising, what they do really well. They get attention through unexpected contrasts and bold choice of language. They are deliberately written to provoke surprise or desire or curiosity or indignation. And very often they open a loop which can only be closed by reading on. So asking part of a question or starting an idea or opening with the premise of an intriguing story to which the resolution can only be found by reading on. Now, those are the general principles, but let's get specific. What are we trying to provoke, and how do we structure words to maximum impact? Well, first we need to understand that in human psychology, and specifically in biopsychology, we all move from emotion. Logic helps us justify our decisions after the fact, but emotion is always what drives action. So the entire purpose of your hook then is to provoke an emotion strong enough that someone, your reader, acts. In this case, the act is to keep reading, to click on more or the link, or to read on, just to stay on the page and give their attention. And this is actually, you will notice, a beautiful microcosm of your entire marketing piece, which is to try to provoke an emotion so strong that someone acts to buy, subscribe, book a call, whatever you're asking them to do. So at the risk of repeating myself, your hook is not here to inform or educate. Its purpose is to provoke. The stronger the words, the stronger the response, and the more you will both snare the attention of some and repel the attention of others, which is exactly what you want from strong marketing. That doesn't mean we have to lean on pain points or fear, although those are very motivating emotions for most people. But you can also provoke recognition or surprise, desire, indignation, curiosity. Don't worry too much about knowing what emotions you want to provoke, but just follow the tips I'm going to give you and keep going. So how do you actually write something provocative? It is all about structure and word choice. First of all, specificity. I made a grand total of $4 last month is far more powerful than business is hard. A direct address. Your website copy is boring is far stronger than website user experience can be improved by strong language, choosing words that disturb rather than comfort, choosing alternatives to the usual words that people hear in regards to your industry all day, every day, are disruptive. And the final thing, of course, is bold claims. Take a position confidently. Show your work at its best. And the strongest hooks you'll find combine 2 or 3 of these elements. Your politeness is killing your profits. It's a contrarian truth, and it addresses fear, and it is a direct address to the reader using the second person, you. Most marketing advice is useless is an example. It's contrarian, it's a bold claim, and it touches on people's pain, their experience of what they have found to be true about most marketing advice. But my friends, sweet kittens, knowing the formula is not enough if you are afraid to use it. Before we get into the tactics, we need to talk about the shadow work that not enough people mention in marketing courses. Writing compelling hooks requires you to be comfortable with being provocative, literally provoking people, whether that is to anger, desire, or sadness. And in doing so, it confirms our worst fears, our cultural worst fears about marketing, which is that successful marketers prey on people's emotions. Because guess what? They do. There is an element of truth in that fear that we have as a culture about people who are spending time and money on advertising. And you know, there's something even more uncomfortable lurking underneath. The fact that marketing is essentially a horrifying popularity contest. We must deliberately seek attention. We must deliberately ask people to notice us and choose us and validate us with their engagement. And there is so much vulnerability in that, in putting ourselves out there and asking to be seen. It is terrifying because it opens us up to judgment and criticism and the ultimate fear, rejection. So we write weak hooks to protect ourselves from the consequences of being bold, of being sharp, of being controversial. We hide behind, let's talk about this, and presenting a reasoned view because we are protecting ourselves against the risk that if we try and make people feel more, then they will. And we will then have to face the possibility that we can, to some extent at least, create emotions and therefore actions in our audience at will. And for some people, that just feels like too much power. The people who need what you are offering are scrolling past every day because you are afraid to interrupt their scroll, and your unwillingness to claim that power, it doesn't serve anyone. The flutter in your stomach when you are about to post something that you know is strong, that slightly nervous, sick feeling is your compass. That's what means that you're onto something. And if it doesn't make you a little bit nervous, it's probably not doing its job. Unfortunately for you and for me and for our sense of comfort and propriety, the angle that feels like it's going too far is usually exactly what needs to be said. Now, as you can tell, this work can be quite confronting. It requires us to step into power, to claim our voice, to be willing to provoke and not to placate. So if you want to get really good at this, you will benefit from finding a way to consistently soothe your nervous system and connect with a supportive energy. I highly recommend the planetary deity Mercury is recruited to your team with immediate effect. Mercury governs communication, persuasion, the quick rapier wit that cuts through noise. And so the writing and communication of powerful ideas that create money and wealth is entirely within his domain. Mercury is the messenger, the trickster, the god of communication and trade and healing and commerce, all things that we need in business. But Mercury is also the god of speed, which requires a lot of courage to both gain and maintain that forward momentum. We have to be willing to say what others won't, to make word choices that expand and feel powerful and feel dangerous. Mercury loves precision. He loves the word that cuts through illusion and hits on the nerve of truth. And if this all sounds very, very extra to you, remember, you don't need to believe in magic to practice it effectively. Magic can be treated as a technology. Simply perform the practice earnestly and sincerely and observe and record your results. If you want to go deeper into working with Mercury for your business, specific rituals and offerings and correspondences, there is a whole episode dedicated to Mercury magic that has been one of my most popular. You will find the link in the description below. And I would love to invite you to join Quick and Dirty Marketing, where we go into this mystical approach every month. It's £11, and you will find the link to that in the description as well. Now, when performing magic with Mercury or with your local land spirits or with whatever power and energy you choose to connect, you may find that some of the fastest and easiest results come when you direct the outcome at changing something about yourself. We all know, we've all experienced that it can be really challenging to change other people, and we know that transformation begins within. So if you are working with Mercury, you could consider petitioning for things like finding the perfect teacher or mentor when you need one, making learning and developing your writing skill feel effortless and fun, for expanding your vocabulary so that the words come to you easily. As you know, words are spells. They carry energy and frequency and intention. And here's something beautiful about humans as well. We are such sweet, suggestible creatures that we can often provoke an emotion simply by naming it and intending it. So when you're writing hooks, Reach for the unexpected word choice. Instead of amazing, try ruthless or forbidden or savage. Instead of great, try lethal or underground or devastating. Instead of important, try urgent or critical or life-changing. Choose words that have edge and specificity and carry with them more nuance in the emotion they express, which makes people lean in rather than tune out. Your thesaurus is your best friend here, especially for hooks that are going to live forever, like on your sales pages or in your biography. This isn't just copywriting, it is energy work. We've been talking about words, but let's be honest, because on most platforms, people see an image, a photo, a graphic, or a video before they even read a single word. So the visuals, the image on your marketing needs to stop the scroll just as powerfully as your copy, if not more. Again, there are no mysteries here. Let's just think about what you can do visually to get attention in your marketing. We are going for bright colors. We are going for high contrast, for unexpected imagery, big words. We can literally force our hook into people's eyes by putting them in big writing across the visual, just like that newspaper headline. People respond to faces, which is why we see so many selfies in our marketing, and people respond to eye contact. We need to interrupt what else is happening in the social media or marketing feed. We need to stand out from the surroundings by looking different, dressing differently, developing a style if you're a personal brand, or applying a consistent and startling, arresting brand design. The purpose of your brand design is not just a unique mark like a fingerprint, but also how can you look entirely different to the others in your industry. Whether it's your words, your visuals, or both, the principle is the same. You are trying to create a moment of disruption that makes somebody stop just for a second, just for long enough to pay attention. Now, all this theory is helpful. Here's the practical part. When you sit down to write, where do you begin? Most people try to write the hook first and then get stuck staring at a blank page and trying to think of something clever. So I'm going to give you a much easier approach. Write the hook last. Write your content first, then craft your hook intentionally using everything we've talked about: power words, specificity, bold claims that make you slightly nervous. But then, and this step is crucial, cut the first 25 to 30% of everything else you've written. We are so conditioned to ease people in gently, to provide context, to be polite. But once you've stopped the scroll with your hook, you have to get straight to the point. Your conditioning wants you to write, now that I have your attention, let me explain the background. But you're just going to lose that attention again. They stopped for the hook. Now deliver on the promise immediately. Kitten, for the love of Mercury, don't bury the lead. Get to the revelation. Get straight to the uncomfortable truth. There is enormous power and profit in not burying the point under pleasantries. So remember, your hook isn't just marketing copy. It is a promise of the experience that people have when they choose to journey with you. Don't break the promise and you won't break the magic. Your homework. I want you to think of this as a ritual, not just as an exercise, but go through your last 5 social media posts and rewrite each hook. Ask yourself, does this make me a little bit nervous to publish it? Do the first 5 to 7 words stop me in my tracks? Do I get straight to the point? Read the hook out loud, not just to check the flow, but to feel the energy. Your voice is your wand, and if the words don't feel electric in your mouth, they won't be electric on the screen. And then publish with intention. If you work with Mercury, ask for support, ask for your words to find the people who need to hear them, and watch what happens when you start. Your hook is the first line of your marketing spell. It is the opening ceremony. It is the spark of life. It will never be predictable, but the aim, at least, is to cut through like a sword through silk. This, kittens, is about being seen for who you are becoming, a successful business owner and a confident marketer who uses all the tricks to sell online, to use your marketing and your online presence as the powerful instrument that it is meant to be. Please subscribe if this helped you think even a little bit differently about your marketing. And remember, we are not here just to stop scrolls. We are summoning souls and stopping them in their tracks with recognition and truth and perspective. Thank you for being here with me today. I can't wait until the next time we meet.